Good afternoon, Patriots. This is the American Vision broadcast on the TLBTV network and brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Project. Today we have a special show for you. Revelation, the Dawn of Global Government is the most talked about liberty film today. As patriots who cherish faith, family, and freedom, it saddens us to see those who would undermine our liberty and our God-given rights. This film is an eye-opener. It's a work of patriotism, and the creators and actors are heroes. People today don't realize how lucky we are to live in a republic, and it's up to us as patriots to inform them.
Our society is moving towards Marxism.
Because of what we did on this day, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
Our revolution now becomes your revolution.
Something's wrong, and we all know it. I'm Charlie Daniels, and I'm here to tell you about it.
The nation has been hijacked by international forces. The dark side, bent on global governance. Alex Jones.
What is the goal? It is to create a one-world government. It's as old as time itself.
Authoritarian officials with jackboots could say, "Your papers, please," and stop you and demand to see your ID.
The Department of Homeland Security issued a declaration to all law enforcement, state, local, and federal, saying that the future threats to America were right-wing Christian groups, Second Amendment groups, pro-life groups,
Wake up, America.
and returning veterans.
While you still have time.
Just think of this country again as one nation under God. America with borders, a nation of patriots that are proud of our heritage, our achievement.
Now it remains necessary for all Americans to draw such a line in the sand.
It's time to ride, boys. We need 1,000 Paula Beers.
RevelationTheMovie.info.
No is a powerful concept.
Today, our guests are the producers of Revelation, Dawn of Global Government, Chuck and Anita Untersee, and Mark Collins, who plays the part of George Washington in the film. So welcome to all of you, Chuck, Anita, and Mark. It's so good to have you on the American Vision. And perhaps you all could start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing and how you got into putting this film together.
All right, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. And I'm Chuck Undersea, and I'm the director and chief cook and bottle washer on this project. We have been involved in this film for over 5 years, and it has come to fruition in different ways. And currently, we're very excited about the new means of distribution we've come up with. Or actually, Anita did. She's the producer. But originally, we released this film theatrically in Houston, and we had an opening weekend, 7th in the nation box office for that weekend in 2 theaters, and it was really tremendous because it's virtually impossible to do a documentary in theaters, first of all, but secondly, to have that kind of interest. So we did that as a test to get a national distribution going right before the election. And we had a distributor, the same distributor that did Obama 2016, Obama's America. And so, all we needed was the advertising funds, which is a tremendous amount of money, to get it out and advertised before the national election. And that would have been great timing. But in the meantime, we came up, because it was Seventh Nation, with the half the money we needed, but we just couldn't get the rest of it in 2 or 3 weeks, which is what we need. So now we have a unique, actually a very unique way of distributing film, which has to do with the internet. And we've done our testing, and we've just launched it once, and we're about to do it again. But Anita can tell you more about that. And it would have been, Mark has been tremendously supportive in this, because he and General Boykin, who's in the film, 3-star general, because they've just kept with us the entire time, and it's really made a big difference. But I'll let Mark tell you about himself. And I'm a film director. Anita and I have been married 39 years. We worked in LA for over 20 years in the film business. And so we decided to do this because we felt moved to do something about, in our way. The only thing that we know is to do film about the State of the Union, so to speak. But Anita should tell you a little bit about the marketing, because we have a launch coming up, and it would be meaningful for people to know about it, because basically you can see the film for free.
Okay, Anita, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the launch and.
Okay. Well, what we're doing is giving the movie away. So a person from June 8th through the 18th can watch the movie for free on their computer. They go to the website and register, and then they're sent a link for that period of time. And we're encouraging people to watch it and share it so we can get this message out, which is basically the message of freedom, that we want to continue to have a democratic republic, and we'd like to return to our founding principles and our biblical background. So that is the basis of the message.
The other thing that I thought is, we had some 40, almost 50 hours of footage that we filmed. It took us 5 years to do this, and about 8 months to edit the first film, and because of the phenomenal amount of footage. And so recently, in the last few months, we made another 3 feature-length films that are run from about 1.5 hours to 1 hour and 45 minutes. So there's a total of 4 films. So we give the first film away online for free, and then if anyone's interested in the others, that's available. So there's a total of 4. We call the new 3 Revelation, the trilogy. The first film is Revelation, Dawn of Global Government.
Yes, and I'm familiar with what you did, because Anita had sent me the link to the film. So I watched it a little bit more than a month ago when it was available then. And so I think it was very easy for me to get the link and be able to watch it. And I tried to share it with as many people as I could at that time. And Mark, we don't want to leave you out of this, so perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your experiences and who you are.
Very good. Well, I am a full-time pastor. That's what I do, and I've taken on the persona of George Washington in a hopes of sharing a message of remembrance of our faith and freedom that has been passed down to us with so much sacrifice. And so I was very excited when I got in contact, or Chuck and Anita got in contact with me and told me about the film project that they wanted to put together. I had done a 13-part miniseries for the History Channel as Washington, and 4 other film projects. And so when they called me and told me what they were doing, that was the message that I had been trying to get out in person as I would travel around to schools and churches and different events, Tea Party events. And so I was very excited with the opportunity of the audience that we could reach with Revelation, the Dawning of Global Government. And so it's been a great project. Chuck and Anita are great patriots, and they have literally sacrificed their lives for the last decade nearly to put this film together. And it's a worthy film for someone to invest their time in. And really the first one is just the tip of the iceberg. I think they'll want to go see the trilogy once they have experienced all of the knowledge that is disseminated in that first film.
Well, I know I'm certainly looking forward to it. Now, there's some other people that are involved that we don't have on the show today. You mentioned Major General Boykin, but also we talked about Mr. Griffith, who I read his book like 20 years ago, I guess, The Creature of Jekyll Island. So that's really exciting to me, because in my book that I wrote, 2020, A Clear Vision for America, I have a chapter on the budget and taxes and so forth, and I rely a lot on the Creature of Jekyll Island to give me a lot of information and guidance, and I've had everybody in my family read that book. That's like required reading with the Mucklers. And then also Charlie Daniels, I got some of his video, CDs, you would say. And then Alex Jones, we hear him on the radio quite a bit. And also his father, Dr. David Jones, was one of the editors of my book. So he's actually in the acknowledgments and the credits for the book. So maybe you all could tell about what some of their roles are in the film, and how they help support you all, and so forth.
Well, we start with Charlie Daniels. We in LA for 20 years did national commercials, and working with ad agencies know well that, America pays a lot of money to get celebrity endorsement, and because often Americans think that if a celebrity endorses something, it's meaningful. And so we thought, well, we need a celebrity spokesman for this film. This is early on when we started it. But guess what? There are very few to no celebrities who will endorse very conservative, faith-based projects. So because they're all looking over their shoulder and want to make sure the career is on path. But someone said you ought to look at or follow Charlie Daniels' soapbox, where he expounds frequently on all the issues that we were talking about. So we did, and contacted his producer, and his producer said, well, Charlie's just not doing any other projects anymore other than his tour. So we thought, well, that's too bad. And but the next day he called back and he said, we'll send the script. So I did. There was no script to this at all. There was only Charlie's part. So we sent it to him, and his producer called back and said, Charlie loves this. He wants to do it. Meet him in San Antonio in 2 days. He was in Nashville, but he was coming to San Antonio for some music thing. So we did. We talked to him at length, and then he said, well, come to Nashville, we'll do it. And we did. And but he really, he's the consummate entertainer, but he also really brought a lot of life to the show because the way he handled it. And his part was scripted, but there was a lot of just him there. So, and then General Boykin, I'm a retired Army officer, and General Boykin I had known of. He's a lieutenant general, 3-star general, but he was one of the founding members of Delta Force, Commander of all Special Operations, Army Special Operations. He was the commander of Mogadishu in that event, which became the movie Black Hawk Down. It was Special Operations people. They managed to deal with in Colombia with Pablo Escobar, and then he captured in Panama. What was his name?
Noriega.
Noriega, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really been there and done that, and he was actually even hit with a 50 caliber round in Grenada when he was in a helicopter. Who gets hit with a 50 caliber round survived. But anyway, amazing guy, and he also is very firmly planted in the concepts of the American patriot, the American way. So he has tremendously supported us, and then Alex, we thought, well, it'd be difficult to get him. He's so busy, wrapped up in his work and so on and so forth. But we did, and we went there, and he did an astounding job. A lot of people say, oh, Alex is crazy, so, I don't know if I can watch a film with him in it. But he was very grounded, very to the point, very succinct in everything he said. And it's even if someone doesn't care for Alex, if you just listen to what he says, it's all reality and it's all there. So, and then there are some 36 other major rock stars of the patriot community, not to mention George Washington, which are people like Gerald Celente, Jim Mars,
Stuart Rhodes of Oath Keepers.
Stuart Rhodes of Oath Keepers.
Larry Pratt of Gun Owners of America.
And Joel Skousen. I mean, it just goes on.
World
and on.
Affairs Brief.
And so, you know, the more, when we started, the longer it went, the more access we got. The longer it took. But that's how we wound up having footage to make 3 more films. But the reason, by the way, it wasn't scripted is when you try to decide who will be in a film to tell a story, there's 2 ways to do it. Write a script and everybody, like a movie, just does the work. But in this case, very different. If you know someone like J. Edward Griffin is an expert on something, you don't sit him down and say, okay, Ed, here's the way I want you to tell the story about the Federal Reserve, because he is the consummate expert. So it's not scripted. So you can't tell these experts how to tell their story. So then you just have to sit down and find all the sweet spots and edit and work it like that. But it really, it was surprising how well it turned out to not have a preordained story. And however, I'm quite glad that the 8 months of editing is over with.
And Mark, how about yourself? You're George Washington. I mean, you're everybody's hero. So tell us how it was to actually play the part of George Washington. And you've actually done this before, haven't you?
Yes, I have. You know, and those are some very big boots to fill. As you read the lives of those founding fathers, what they did with so little, you know, defeating the most powerful military in the world and giving us our freedoms, and many of them losing everything they had economically, some even losing their lives. We owe a great debt to those men, and I think we've done them a disservice in how we have allowed our country to devolve into what it is. And so that's our challenge. It says in the film that we need 1,000 Paul Reveres. You know, we need people that are willing to sacrifice for the next generation, because we owe them an inheritance. And we're not going to deliver unless we make some changes.
Yeah, I agree. I always hear people say we've got to wake up America, and I always say, yes, we have to wake up everybody, but that's not enough. We also have to enlighten them, and I think that's what this film does. From what I saw, it really enlightens people as to what we really need to do.
Absolutely. You know, Washington himself said one of the greatest undertakings that we can endeavor to do is to teach our youth the science of government. Isn't that interesting? We don't even think of government as a science anymore. It's just something that they take for a couple of courses during high school, and then you never see it again. But it's very critical to their future that they understand the government and the gift that's been given to them, and the government that those founding fathers gave us. A republic, as Franklin said, if you can keep it.
Yes, I know. With that, I just did a YouTube on that, as a matter of fact. And the other thing is on my new book that I'm writing, and I talk about all the time, is I've written it in 3 parts. And part 1 is restoring our Constitution, because what I've found is no one has read the Constitution, and it's just hard for me to believe. And I'll do speaking engagements, and I'll ask people, just tell me, for example, what are the 5 rights that you have guaranteed to you under the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights? And I can never find an audience that can give me more than 3.
Yes. Yeah.
One interesting thing that has to do with what Mark was saying about children or youth is Hitler said, "Give me your children, and I will change the course of history in 1 generation." And essentially, if you look at our school system, if you look at the concept of being a global citizen and just changing the whole mindset of not only here domestically, but people in the world, then all of a sudden in a generation, you've got a completely different environment. And that's why we have to, restore the republic, if you want to put it that way, in terms of people's awareness of what was, because if they don't understand the history, there's just nothing to go on from that point.
Yes, I agree. And talking, you mentioned Hitler and Nazism. When I grew up, it was the Holy Trinity was God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And then Hitler brought his own Holy Trinity into play, where the Third Reich was the Father and he was the Son, and Nazism was the Holy Spirit. Now in America, we have a new Holy Trinity. And Mark, maybe you could comment on this. From my point of view, it's me, myself, and I.
Yes, we just see the self-centeredness, the lack of an understanding that we owe something to the next generation. Our founding fathers called it posterity. And they said, we do what we do for posterity.
Mm-hmm.
And here we're a microwave society. We want self-gratification, and instantly we want it. And we're paying a price for it. We're just the breakdown of the family. And it, the government we get is downstream from society. And so there's where the problem is.
Yes, and the reason why we're talking about this today is we want everybody to understand that this movie tells us what this is all about and why we need to understand all this, and it's so well portrayed. And perhaps Chuck or Anita, or you can talk about that a little bit.
Well, the various people of the 36 some people sort of come together the way it was edited to illustrate literally what the subtitle is, which is The Dawn of Global Government. General Boykin talks extensively about the Islamic threat, the world communism, how socialism evolves from Marxism to communism, and Agenda 21, which is the footstool of the elite to create global government and control, total control. And and of course, Ed Griffin talks extensively about the Federal Reserve, which is a subset to the big story, but of control, and how the global elite do control the money system in the world, and consequently the people. And what they don't control right now, they will shortly. So, but it's interesting because Charlie Daniels said, this film has a faith thread throughout. As for someone who is a faith-minded person, it's obviously relevant to end times prophecy with the title Revelation. And he said, we've all read the book and we know how it ends, and we win. However, if you're familiar with Revelation biblically, the end will come, and global government will be formed, and the Antichrist will appear, and all the things prophesied in Revelation will come to pass. So people will say, well, what's the point? Well, the point is we are still, there is still time to illustrate to people the wisdom of faith. And secondly, we are charged with resisting evil, no matter what. I mean, if an old lady's about to be pitched in front of a bus on the street and you do nothing, what kind of human being are you? So there is that. But then for those who have no faith, it's still a relevant, it's sort of a double entendre title, because it is a revelation to know that the UN would like to have Agenda 21 and the new version of that on steroids create a world where there's 90% population reduction. There is global government. The UN controls all food and water. There's no national boundaries. I mean, look at the things that are happening. It's all out there every day, and it's astounding how many people still don't relate to what's unfolding historically with Revelation, but secondly, just don't see it. they're literally blinded. And
they don't see it for one reason, and that's because the media is all controlled. Now, something like this show or our independent movie or any kind of independent show can talk about these things, but all the heads of the media, major media sources, are members of the Trilateral Commission, and that is a globalist group, and so they have their ideas of what needs to be said, and that's all you're going to hear, and it's obvious. So.
Everything in our world around us is agenda driven, having to do with this move toward global government. The Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, all these are, and there are others, are viable global control mechanisms, and it's shocking. I mean, that gets into a little deeper part of the story, but even Agenda 21, most people you walk up to have never heard of it. And I'm talking about intelligent people. And the reason is they're brainwashed by the media. And, they're glued to television for whatever they get, and it's all spoon-fed. But Agenda 21 is a frightening concept, and it's completely anti-American. And so our hope is to use this to have people like Mark said earlier, be Paul Revere's. Charlie said in the film, we need 1,000 Paul Revere's. The point is, know these issues, even for patriots who already know much of this, and use this DVD as a means of spreading the word to friends and family, because essentially everyone's got friends and family who roll their eyes. And so if someone else tells them, here's something you need to look at, it's different than if you tell them and they roll their eye. So that's the Paul Revere concept. You use patriots to go out and get this into the environment. It's all out there. Everything is on.
I always try to tell people that what's best for Americans is to have a small, limited government that's close to home, meaning that it should be small and streamlined, it should be limited in its power, and it should be something that we have our hands on close to home here in our cities and counties and states. And what's happening today is just the opposite. The federal government is taken over, and everything is centered in Washington, D.C., and the states are now considered almost like departments, regional departments of the federal government. And then the next step, the way I see it, is the dawn of global government has actually begun, because then eventually we move our government from Washington, D.C. to the UN building, and eventually from there, probably The Hague or someplace else. And the further away we get from our government, the less streamlined it's going to be, and the less limited it's going to be, and it's going to be a long way from home.
Anita and I have the perfect solution to small local government. She's the boss, and I take orders. But actually, no, I mean, I totally agree. The less government, the better. And
that's why we have the 10th Amendment, where the states control what they're allowed to control, and the federal government is supposed to stay within their box of things that they can do.
And Mark, I want to mention something. We haven't had a chance to talk too much before the show. Is Revelation. I actually went on a pilgrimage, you might say, or a tour about 4 or 5 years ago called The Footsteps of Paul. And one of the places we went was on a cruise ship. We landed in Patmos. And I had the privilege to actually walk into the structure, I guess you would say. It's almost like on the side of the mountain. And I actually stood there and placed my hands on the writing platform that John the Evangelist wrote Revelation. I mean, that was something like the thrill of a lifetime.
That is truly amazing. Yeah, there's so many things that are coming true that you read in our Bibles, you look at our newspapers, and it's happening just exactly like they called it. You know, what will be good will be called evil, and what was evil will be called good. And there's such an attack against Christ and Christianity. And those are the things that have made us great as we look at these mass shootings and everything that's going on that is destroying our society. God called that, you know, that if we turn our backs to him, we're going to pay a great price. And we're beginning to see that in greater and greater numbers and in ways that we couldn't imagine. As we have turned our back on God, our land is becoming darker.
Yes, that's
well, you know,
for sure.
you might mention that Mark has had a very up close and personal experience with that twice, and Mark, tell him about it, because it's the epitome of the evil which you're talking about.
Yes, I was as a pastor, I was called upon to go to Kenya, end of March in 2015, and as we landed 2 days later, Islamic terrorists attacked the Gracia University and killed 147 Christian brothers and sisters, separated the Muslim students from the Christians, and then massacred all of the Christians. And so I was there, and we spent the first 2 weeks helping those families through that tragedy. And then, lo and behold, I come home. For 13 years, I was the associate pastor of a little church southeast of San Antonio called Sutherland Springs. And so I was one of the first on the scene after those 26 precious souls were killed and 23 more wounded, all of those family and friends. My daughter is still a member of that church, was not there because she walked out to literally go to church and her front left tire was flat. And so they were unable to go. 20 minutes later, she gets the call that the shooter had gone into the church and shot nearly everyone that was present that day. And so I spent the next 2 months helping my dear brother Frank Pomeroy through all of that process. So yeah, I have seen the darkness. It has visited us many times.
Okay, you mentioned
that, when we were growing up, some of us, the old guys with gray hair, it's not that nothing like that ever happened, but it was not prevalent. Is not the whole story of Revelation unfolding and ramping up. I mean, there are countless illustrations of that, on how times have changed and the intensity that it wasn't.
Okay, Anita, maybe you're the best one for this. Perhaps you can tell us again where everyone can find Revelation, the dawn of global government, and when and where and how. And
okay, well, because we're so interested in sharing this message, we're going to be showing it for free starting June 8th, and we'll show it from June 8th through June 18th. In order to see it, you need to register at our website, which is revelationmovies.com. And there will also be a link on the Liberty Beacon, which you can click on and go to where it is. And then you register and you'll get sent the link on the date that we launch, which is June 8th. And then you have 10 days to watch it, to share it with everybody that you want to share it with. It's a really great way for people who are already aware, and anyone watching your show already is aware of all these issues, but it puts everything together. It all. Our sure book has great solutions, vision 2020, a clear vision for America. But that's the best way to see it right now.
One point for context is where we're doing a launch on this 10-day window to see the film free through who you mentioned earlier, G. Edward Griffin, who's sponsoring a major event in Washington State end of June, and it's called Red Pill Expo. And we went last year in Bozeman, Montana, but it's a major gathering of hundreds of intense patriots and 30 or 40 major speakers about all these sorts of issues. But Ed Griffin has all his life pursued, information for people to understand what's going on. And that's what the Red Pill Expo is about. So prior to that window for that event, we'll have this launch for him.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you all so much for being on the American Vision. It was just a delight to be able to meet you all and talk with you. And I know all our viewers will really appreciate you all coming to us and bringing your story and telling us your story. So with that, I'll say goodbye. Does anybody have anything, parting words?
I'd like to get your autograph, because you've been to the cave where John the Revelator wrote Revelation.
No, we'd love to go there.
Yeah, John the Evangelist. Actually, the church I belong to here in Cocoa, Florida is St. John the Evangelist of all things. So a big, important part of my life.
Well, thanks for having us.
Mm-hmm. Mark?
We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And that we need to get everyone that doesn't understand what's going on in the world around us to see this film. So I would encourage the patriots that are there that they would please reach out and grab somebody that doesn't understand what's going on in the world around them and sit down and show this film to them.
Amen to that. Thank you all very much.
Our society is moving towards Marxism.
Because of what we did on this day, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
Our revolution now becomes your revolution.
Something's wrong, and we all know it. I'm Charlie Daniels, and I'm here to tell you about it.
The nation has been hijacked by international forces. The dark side, bent on global governance. Alex Jones.
What is the goal? It is to create a one world government. It's as old as time itself.
Authoritarian officials with jackboots could say, your papers, please, and stop you and demand to see your ID.
The Department of Homeland Security issued a declaration to all law enforcement, state, local, and federal, saying that the future threats to America were right-wing Christian groups, Second Amendment groups, pro-life groups,
Wake up, America,
and returning veterans.
while you still have time.
Just think of this country again as one nation under God. America with borders, a nation of patriots that are proud of our heritage, our achievement.
Now it remains necessary for all Americans to draw such a line in the sand.
It's time to ride, boys. We need 1,000 Paul Revere's.
RevelationTheMovie.info.
No is a powerful concept.
Okay, everybody, I'm back, and I want to urge you to watch this movie. I had the privilege and honor to be able to see it back in April when Anita sent me a link to it, and it's a movie that we all must see. Everybody must see this, and I've actually read some reviews where people said they've watched it 3 times, and every time they got a little bit more out of it. So I certainly would urge you to at least watch it one time, but don't just watch the film. Get some people to watch it with you. You know, you can get more than one of you to do it. Get the family involved, and then share it with your friends. You can get people to register and tell people how to register for the film, and they can see it for free. What more could you want? It's free. How many times do you get something of such great value and you get it for free? And speaking of things with great value, 2020, A Clear Vision for America has got a lot of value in it, but it's not free. but I'm still offering the book at $20 and sending it out to you, free shipping, free handling, no fees, no taxes or anything. I pay for everything, and I'm also donating $10 to Segs for Vets, so our vets can go out on these beautiful days that they can't walk and they can actually be mobile. So think about those vets that came back and they did everything for us, and help them so they can be out and enjoying this beautiful weather that we have here in America this summer. So anyway, boys and girls, thank you so much. God bless America. God bless you all for watching. God bless Anita and Chuck and Mark and all the rest of the cast and supporters and those involved in Revelation, Dawn of a Global Government. And God save our America, because we need you now more than ever before.